just keeping it fresh and making sure everyone's guessing, is there going to be a splash? Is there just going to be us? Is technology going to work for us?
We're on board today. Everything started just perfectly today.
Yeehaw. It's going to be a smooth one. So good morning, everyone, and good morning, Jade. How are you feeling today?
Happy Friday.
Happy Friday. Definitely, definitely. And as we were just saying, it's going to be a smooth day because there's only like 3 days worth of work to get done.
Yeah, literally this morning I was like, Mitch is like, okay, what time slots you got available? I'm like, oh, I'll be driving between here and here. You can grab me then. And I sent Kay a list last night when I was brain dumping. I'm like, I need to do all these things. She's like, I'll write the list, but there's no way you're getting all those things done. Like, where's confidence, babe?
Not with that attitude.
Not with that attitude. And then I looked at the list she wrote me back. I'm like,
yeah, okay, so maybe you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all good. And I think we all get into that, and we all get into the shit. We just haven't got it all done. And I've really enjoyed this week. I've spent a fair amount of time passing things off and trying to get more and more off my plate. And I'm starting to get to a point where I feel like my workload might be manageable. So it's a good thing. It's a good thing on a Friday. Yeah,
that's a great feeling.
Until a whole heap of phone calls come in, and there's a call that I've got to return from yesterday, and I'm sure that's going to increase the workload again. Mm-hmm. So yesterday we spoke about self-care and, which part of your self-care is going to be mandatory. And I got out in the surf yesterday. I really enjoyed it. I did get
despite getting rolled.
In spite of that, my sort of neck and shoulders still a bit tight and sore from where I've come down hard on the water, but I was actually really enjoying it. I was the atmosphere with everyone around was really, really good. Where I surf here at the local break, it's generally a pretty good mix of people. There's not really any dickheads around, and it was just really enjoyable. Not heaps of waves to ride, but the waves are fun. But I was actually thinking about the sunrises and all that sort of stuff, and something that came to me, and I think this is something to play with today is, the best sunrises have a little bit of cloud.
100%. Oh, I love this.
The best sunrises actually have a little bit of cloud. It's not the perfectly clear day. It's not the perfectly clear skies that actually makes the best sunrise. And I thought, that's so true in just about everything. Now I don't remember which. I think it was Kotler. I think it was the Stealing Fire, where he talks about the shadows. I've got that right.
I think it's in Stealing Fire, because Stealing Fire is about altered states of consciousness, and the different edges, where Rise of Superman's more around the peak performance athletes and the Superman athletes.
Yep. And even Dylan Willis in his book Rebirthing talks about the shadows. You can't have light without a shadow, and you can't have a shadow without the light.
You don't appreciate light without shade. You don't know light. You don't know light without darkness. Like you need the polarity and the contrast. And they say that's the same thing with our souls, right? Which is why sometimes our souls choose to journey. Oh, that you missed my card yesterday, which was, did you hear it while you were off camera? Of what was the thing that I believe that not everyone believes? Oh, and yes. Mine was around the journey of souls. So, and that, we only get this one time in this meat suit on this timeline, but it's not our only go round, and that we choose our experience and we choose what we come here to learn to be able to help our souls ascend to the next level. And some people believe in like reincarnation or whatever, but not necessarily that you choose it's a choose your own adventure experience. But in that context of what you're saying, if your soul never experiences the struggle, then it doesn't know the light, and it doesn't know how to ascend to go to the next level of awakening and consciousness and awareness. So sometimes you choose the shit you're in.
Absolutely.
And that goes back to like choosing your parents and then looking for the lesson so you can quickly learn it and move on.
and you need the contrast. You don't know how good things are until you've had some bad, and there's always that contrast side of things. So it was just it was a bit of a moment where I sort of went, I bet I can create an interesting conversation around this, and it got me really thinking. And to follow on from, we need the hard times for the lessons to learn. A guy I used to work with, that was when I was flying. So he taught me to fly, and one of the things that he always used to say to me was, "Experience is the stuff you get right after you needed it the most." And it's so true. It's so true, and particularly in the context of flying, making a decision to go out flying on a day that's really crappy, you certainly gain the experience to be able to fly in those conditions, but you needed it most right then.
Yeah. Oh goodness. That's
but it's so true. It's so true. Like every time every time you go through an experience, you actually needed that knowledge most right then. You'll never experience it as hard as you did right then. You'll never
after
make the same mistake as bad.
Yeah. Yeah. And in the moment that just feels yucky, and you're like, why?
And so, but that guy that I'm talking about, he, as he said that, and every time he said it, he had this huge grin on his face.
The Cheshire Cat. Yeah. Yeah.
As we go through this 6 week solid, it's about better leadership and learning to lead better. And, one of the things that we often shy away from are our shadows. And that's why I sort of started to raise it and bring it out. Our shadows are what make us light up the most. That's the things that truly contrast us in the world. But we have to be fully aware of our shadows so that we can be the best person we want to be, but also be the best person for everyone else around us. And so that's why I thought we should sort of raise it today.
I love it. I love it. Well, when you really think about it, it can tie back to Art of Impossible as well, like the struggle. Sometimes you got to go to dark places and go through the struggle to come out the other side, because it is those lessons. And Steve and I were talking, because he's reading The Code, which we're going to talk about on the podcast this afternoon, Kensho, and growth through Kensho or Satori. We'll go through that. If you guys want to tune in later on this afternoon, Kyle and I will also be live going through how to become an extraordinary leader and self-leader. And we'll talk about Kensho and Satori learning moments. But Kensho is about learning from pain. And honestly, like you said, that experience is usually when you're in the most struggle, or you're that facing the fear. And we know that you can't get flow without having that element of fear. We don't get the growth without that element of fear, of failure, of pushing the edges to heighten the adrenaline, to switch on the neuro pathways, to step into that. And so if you're always chasing a life of lightness, you don't see that polarity. You don't get that extra growth. You don't get that push to really step you to that next level. And like, this is there's been a whole lot of stuff around, like, people that try to be happy all the time or try and promote happiness all the time, and how that's a false kind of emotional economy and the detriment. And I have a friend that she was like, I love it when it rains. I love it than this. I love it than that. Like, I never do sadness. I'm like, this is fraught with danger. Like, sometimes I know you just don't love shit, babe. And she's like, no, I've chosen. But then this chase seems to be endless, because there's not the differentiation. It's like the high that you've got to chase is like so much higher if everything else is base level. And it just feels not like, she thinks it's authentic, and she honestly does, but there's a gap.
Yeah.
And it's like she's not feeling her whole range of emotions. It's like she's popped some in a little box, popped it over here.
It's the super important thing, though, with our emotions, isn't it? And, back to what I was talking about with the shadows, you have to lean into it. You have to let that be. You don't have to wallow in your emotions. And wallow either way. Like as you were talking about the wallowing in the positive all the time and constantly pushing that doesn't allow you to put to bed the things that you need to put to bed, because sometimes we just have to feel the emotion. We just have to actually go through it. We don't necessarily have to wallow in it. We don't necessarily have to do anything about it. We just have to let it pass through us. And really, really important. Yeah, really, really important, and particularly if we're leading teams, or mini humans and all that sort of stuff. If we don't allow those emotions to pass through us and to experience them, they'll fucking come out.
Eventually. Yeah. Yeah,
100%. And that's where we have a breakdown. That's where we have we lash out at people. That's where we respond incorrectly, in a moment. And that's all the things because we haven't actually let those emotions come through us.
We react rather than respond.
Yeah.
Yeah. The thing that came up for me about the mini humans is, sometimes we feel like, they're a bit too privileged. Like they're like, yeah, you remember your dad saying, I used to walk 20 miles in the snow barefoot. Like, and we used to get that. I think we say something similar. Like, we used to ride our bikes.
Chunks out of the sidewalk.
Yeah. Ride to school. You've got a driver. Like, be grateful. But how? Like, obviously, we want to give our kids the best life and opportunity and everything we can. But how do you get that balance of so they have the gratitude? Like, it's almost like see how the other side live without they didn't like my story about what were they not having a shower and me saying, well, I had to used to fill up the bathtub that was in an outhouse with fucking boiled pot. We didn't even have fucking kettle. And they're like, yeah, we get it. You were poor. And I'm like, no, you're not getting it. Like,
you're not getting
it. They were definitely not getting it. I'm like,
just take them camping.
Did they actually believe
truly
me?
roughing it?
I don't think they believed that anyone could actually go through that. It wasn't really as bad as what it seemed. It was, you still got a hot bath.
I'd still get a hot bath. And I'm like, just go and have a shower.
Yeah.
But how do we make that balance? Steve's like, I want to go drop them into the housing projects. But make them go walking around the housing project. I'm like, shut up, I used to live there.
They won't come back.
Legit. You take them to Jade's place.
So, Dr. Shefali,
yep.
The conscious parenting guru, talks about two really important things with little kids. The first one, well, actually three. So the first one is that they're a lot stronger than we give them credit for. And, we often protect them and they do bounce. And that's actually a perfect example. They are a lot stronger, a lot more resilient than we actually give them credit for. And we forget that. And we start protecting them from things because we think it's bad for them. So we forget that. And then because of that, we don't allow them to experience pain. And that's the most important part of growing up. Whether that's pain from, falling off a bike and working out that I did something wrong and not having my parents tell me, oh, it's okay, the bike hit something or the wheel slipped.
Make the excuse.
You were riding the bike, you were in control and you fell off. You're okay.
Lux has a great example of that last week. He chose his tiny little bike. He's made Josh make him big ramps. So he's 4, and he's got ramps and he's jumping off them out the front of the house. Ellie's like, all right, we'll just, go for it. Please wear your helmet. And he chose his old little bike and didn't get enough speed and just went donk.
Yep.
And he tells the story. He's like, I chose the wrong bike. Didn't go fast enough.
Yeah.
And he's like, look at my face, and like, look at my leg.
And he's learnt the lesson though. Like he's been through the pain. Yeah, he's been through the pain. And the good thing is he's connected the dots about what went wrong, and hopefully, because what it actually means is he has to commit more. So, I got hurt because I wasn't actually fully committed to what I was trying to do. So next time I actually have to fully commit to it on the right bike, going fast enough to make the jump. So,
such
fingers
an important
crossed.
thing right there. such an important thing. Just Mini Humans team, whatever. But there are so many times that we give excuses for things, and we teach it. Like then, never even put this together before, but then we're teaching them to make excuses. We're teaching them not to own the mistake or own the situation, because we're like, oh, it's okay. We're trying to sugarcoat it or like smooth it over, rather than being realistic with what the real situation is and going, okay, well, this was the consequence. How do we risk mitigate that in the future? Rather than going, oh yeah, you must hit a bump, or like, oh, the stupid ramp, or like all the things that people often would say. What a hugely important.
And we're trying to protect them from, feeling bad, but what they actually need to do is go through that, experience that, and learn from it. So,
Build the resilience.
It's so important. And I guess we tend to, I'll try not to go off on a rant, but we tend to, with our teams, and particularly when we go into a work environment, we tend to flip the other way. And it almost becomes an attack of why things went wrong. So we sort of, over here, we sort of go, oh, it's okay,
Cotton wool.
And then over the other side, it's like, the world's ending because we got something wrong. And that's probably a chat for a whole other day, but
there's the polarity.
There's a big polarity in how we react in both of those situations. And probably really we should swap them, because the people at work are probably a lot more fragile than the kids.
100%. And if those people had been taught when they were younger to own the fuck ups and to connect the dots, then it would be a different conversation in the first place, because we get the shits when they sugarcoat something, or like we get triggered when they don't own the story, or like sweep something under the rug, and then we get triggered and that heightens. And then, but if we went back and looked at it, it's like, oh wait, we created this problem, or this was created when there were 3.
Yeah, absolutely.
Interesting. That's a really, I'm going to utilize that.
What an interesting chat for today. So for everybody that's playing along at home, what shadows have you got that you don't want to actually lean into or play with? Have a think about those sorts of things that might be holding you back because you don't want to acknowledge the shadows that you actually have. So if you're bold enough and you're brave enough, share in the comments wherever you're listening along. This is 6 weeks solid. We are at the end almost of week 4. Holy dooly. And this weekend is my birthday. I was going to have a cheat day for my birthday. I've decided I'm not going to have a cheat day.
High five.
I've decided I'm going to keep the solid going. So, and it is the NRL Grand Final. Oh my God. If Brock's playing along at home, go the Panthers.
Brock is a mad Bunny supporter.
He is. He did say he will be a little under the weather on Monday, no matter what the outcome. So
it's public holiday Monday. He's got a permission slip.
He's got a permission slip, absolutely. So, the fun thing is I can still have a fun weekend this weekend. I'll still enjoy playing along. So, everyone at home, play hard, go all in, keep doing it. This is 6 weeks solid. We've only got 2 weeks to go. It should be pretty easy by now. The biggest problem you should have right now is boredom, more than anything else.
Boredom.
You might find read your books, absolutely. In your food and whatever, you might find that you're bored with the food that you're having, you're bored with having to drink so much water, but just keep reading, keep doing the fun stuff. You've got this. 2 weeks to go.
If you're bored, I challenge you, get an air fryer.
You have got me thinking about that.
Super Butcher made me these most amazing paleo rissoles, and Steve cooked them in the air fryer. Bought them gone. Bought them gone. So good.
Nice. And there you go. The last little thing for today is, if you're absolutely bored, without endorsement, buy an air fryer.
It's always like, what can we put in there? Steve wanted to see if he could cook stuffed squid in there last night because he made stuffed squid.
Ooh,
and he said not so great in the air fryer.
No, it was a bit crispy.
But it was fun.
was fun.
It was fun. It was an experience. Yeah.
That's right.
Shared experiences build relationships. So there you go.
There we go.
Have an amazing day, everybody. I'm Kyle. That's Jade. Follow us along on 6 Weeks Solid. And if you want to learn more about the Code of Extraordinary Mind, catch us a bit later on our channels around the globe.
Bye, guys.